Okay, now this was on the news earlier on.
I don't want to scare you, but I think I'm madly in love with you. I mean, you're all I think about in my whole world.
Harold, I like you a lot too, but this is our first date.
Now that would be pretty scary, wouldn't it?
I think that we need more time to get to know one another.
What, longer than half an hour?
What happened?
Now, just when you think he's going to say, you know, we've run out of gas.
Harold, what are those things?
How the hell should I know?
Now, this is a pretty typical abduction experience story so far. It's a very typical scenario, isn't it? You know, you're driving along in the car is stopped, there's a flying saucer above it, you know, the car grinds to a halt, and the two grey aliens, it doesn't show actually how they get out of their spacecraft. You have to assume that they beam down, and they're dragging the poor unsuspecting humans off to be examined or whatever. Now, if you think about it, this is in itself quite a ridiculous scenario. Now, if you see the aliens, they are grey and they are naked. Now, this is akin to, imagine Star Trek, you know, Kirk and Spock. They beam down to an alien planet stark naked and grab a couple of its inhabitants. Or if it was Star Wars, you know, can you imagine the Millennium Falcon lands in the middle of the high street, and you know, Han Solo, well, Chewie probably is naked anyway, and Princess Leia, if you're lucky, get off of the Falcon completely naked. Now, it doesn't make any kind of sense whatsoever, does it? Now, this is quite amusing here because we've got aliens abducting some humans, and now another spacecraft comes along and is going to abduct the aliens and the humans. Sort of two for the price of one. Fairly good looking spacecraft there. We can see the saucer glowing away in the background. That belongs to the Greys. And we've got this other spacecraft appearing sort of just left of centre at the top. Now, this is interesting because yeah, this is on the big screen. That was just me crossing my legs there. That's this is on the big screen. So now, why would anybody think that a crew member from an interstellar spacecraft would be big and hairy and growling like a wild animal? Why? You would think they would have to be a fairly intelligent species if they can engineer a spacecraft that can fly around the galaxy on a willy-nilly basis. Yet what gets out of it is just this growling idiot, really. So let's just see what happens. Not terribly communicative, but then I think we get the gist.
Jack, what is that thing?
How the hell should...
And of course, like all good television aliens, Certainly all of the ones on Star Trek. These speak kind of English. I think it's called American.
I know.
And that was the opening, of course, to an episode of The X-Files. It wasn't actually a documentary. Contrary to what people like Ben Emlyn Jones and Charles Scott, Miles Johnson, and Richard Dolan probably would have us believe. Now, there is another bit in this that I think was really cool. This is probably the best episode of The X-Files I've ever seen. It's quite humorous. I'll show you another bit of this that I think is really, really quite funny. And it does sort of sum up the conspiracy, the people involved in the conspirasphere. I think that's the best way of putting it. So let's just take a look at that. Now this is not the clip I was going to show you, but that clip will be coming. But this I thought was quite interesting as well. Now this is the poor unfortunate young lady that's been abducted by the aliens, and she's on an alien spacecraft. Now this is portrayed from supposedly real accounts of alien abductions. You know, they've made this as realistic as possible. You know what the X-Files is like. Most people think it's a documentary. Now, now here's a poor unfortunate young lady who's been taken aboard the alien spacecraft, and this is how. You know, when people say they've been abducted by aliens, the story they tell is pretty much always the same. It's very, very, very similar. And this is based on those stories, okay?
Chrissy, can you recall where you are?
Oh, yeah, she's being hypnotised and she's recalling her experience on the alien ship.
Surrounded by aliens.
What do the aliens look like?
They're small.
Yeah, that's right. They're small, okay? So you've got small, little, tiny aliens. And let's just get back to the woman strapped to the table. Now, wait for it, wait for it. That's going a bit too slow, this, isn't it? But the trouble is, if I make it any faster, I won't be able to get to the bit that I wanted to show you. Hang on. So let's just get this moving a little bit faster. Okay, so there we go. Now, there she is, right in the centre of the screen there with the light, the bright light behind her. She's just described the aliens as being small. She's on a table which is almost vertical. And if you look above her, there are pipes disappearing, you know, probably 6 to 7 feet above her. Now, this is how people relate these alien abduction stories. What you'd have to ask yourself is why critters that are 4 foot high would have ceilings that are 15 to 20 feet high in a spacecraft, where space would be of a premium. They always get this wrong. The people that fantasize about being abducted by aliens, they never say they have to bend over or squat down. You know, they're always being examined on a table in the spacecraft, and there's always plenty of headroom. And you know, the other thing that's very common with alien abduction stories, they never ever mention smells or temperature. And that's probably because you don't get smells and temperature in dreams. You only get visual imagery in dreams. Maybe a bit of audible imagery as well. So you might hear what people are saying. Or they might say the aliens communicated with me, but I didn't see the lips move. And that's because the voices are in their head, of course. Okay, let's just move on to the bit I was going to show you in the first place. Okay, so this is the bit that I thought was funny. I think I've used this before. It's from the same episode of the X-Files, and when I saw this, I thought, yeah, this sort of explains a lot, really, and it shows how switched on the people that made the television series The X-Files really were. Well, really are. They might still be around. But it's the answer to the question, people often ask. Why do people like, Linda Moulton Howe and Ben Emlyn Jones and, Miles Johnston and maybe not so much Miles Johnston actually, but, so many of these other UFO type conspiracy people. Why do they so desperately want this to be true? Aliens are coming here, they're abducting people, they're interacting with the human race. Why, oh why do they so desperately want this to be true? Okay, and I think this gives us the answer right here.
I know how crazy this is going to sound, but I want to be abducted by aliens.
Why?
They want to be abducted by aliens. Now, this guy is an eccentric writer. He's writing a book about alien abduction. This is in the same episode of The X-Files. This guy is absolutely brilliant. He plays the part of the eccentric writer brilliantly. There's a few scenes where he's interviewing Scully, and they're really quite funny. So if I can find the name of the episode of the X-Files this comes from, these all come from the same episode, I'll leave it below, and you can sit back and have a chuckle at this episode of the X-Files. I thought it was bloody hilarious. So the guy sitting on the floor has just said he wants to be abducted by aliens, and the eccentric writer has said, why? Why do you want to be abducted by aliens?
Whatever for?
I hate this town. I hate people. I just want to be taken away to some place where I don't have to worry about finding a job.
He hates where he is, he hates people, and he just wants to be taken away to somewhere where he doesn't have to worry about finding a job. I mean, it sort of sounds like Ben Emlyn Jones, doesn't it? Richard Dolan. Ian R. Crane. Probably Simon Parks as well. None of these people want to do a job. None of them want to work for a living, so they spend their time on the internet. Some of them make money out of it as well. Some of them make quite good money. I was watching one of these urban exploration channels the other day, and they were looking at this deserted mansion. It had a massive indoor swimming pool and all that sort of stuff, and the guy was a writer. Now, I haven't actually looked at it to see what it was all about, but there was a couple of books there. One was Genesis, and the other one was Genesis Target Earth. Now, if they happen to be conspiracy books, then there's an awful lot of money to be made in it, because that house was worth an awful lot of money. It was on acres, it was in the UK, massive indoor swimming pool, probably as big as a public swimming baths. Very, very nice house. So he was obviously making plenty of money out of spruiking whatever he was spruiking. Whether he was a fiction writer or not, I don't know. As I say, I haven't researched that, but I might have a look at it over the next couple of days if I get time. Well, there we go. I just thought, I was just watching an episode of The X-Files that I recorded earlier on today, and yeah, it was earlier on today. And I thought, well, I'll just watch this episode of The X-Files, and I really enjoyed it. I was falling about laughing, so I thought there's a bit of material there that I think is worth sharing. And I've given you the reasons that I thought it was that I thought made it worth sharing. So I hope you enjoyed that, found that interesting or amusing, or both, as always. Thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.